Hey robot makers, how you doing? Hope you're having a good day so far. So, do you want to know how to design your own Halloween ghost robot using Fusion 360? Then this is the show for you. So let's dive straight in. My name's Kevin. Come with me as we build robots, bring them to life with code, and have a whole load of fun along the way. Now, I've got my 3D printers going at the moment, so if there's a sort of high-pitched whine or anything, I do apologise for that, but some of these prints take quite a while. This one I've got in front of me here, which is part of the Pac-Man build. This one took over a day to print. The bottom half of this took a similar amount of time. These are going to sort of stack. This one has got an awful lot of build material in it that I need to take out. So probably just about make out the shape of the sort of V of the mouth. Oops, that way. I need to take that out. And also underneath there's quite a lot of build material too. But came out quite well. There is a little bit of warping on this one, so I might need to do that again. And for the ghost, which we're going to design in a minute, I've also got some glow-in-the-dark filament. So I've got 3 lots of this. I've got some green, I've got some red, and I've got some blue. So we can do all the Pac-Man ghosts as well. How cool would that be? So let's dive straight in, shall we? So this is all about how to build your own, or design your own Fusion 360 based SMARS robot. And as you can see, that this is kind of what I'm going for. I've got a SMARS robot inside as a kind of base, which we will build on top of. Cool. Okay, so what's the session goals for today? So we're going to design a SMARS ghost robot using Fusion 360. I'm going to take you through each of the steps, and you can follow along if you wish as well. So the instructions for this, I'm going to show you where to get those on the SMARS fan website. They're all live now. And you can build along and do your own version of this as well if you like. So let's talk about the design. What did I have in mind when I was thinking about this? So yeah, to create a Halloween robot based on the SMARS chassis, I've thought about including a line follow module. So this one has actually got a line follow module installed there. I think it's called the HW201. I was looking for a model of this on GrabCAD and there wasn't one, so there is now. I've submitted that to GrabCAD and I'll show you that in a second as well. And if you've not got a copy of the SMARS design in Fusion 360, I can show you how to get that on GrabCAD as well. So yes, the line follow module is going to enable our robot to follow a line along a path, and I'm thinking, why don't we print out a Pac-Man-like maze? I'm going to use the floor that I've got in here to sort of print out a huge thing and have them follow along the line. And if we have a few of them in a line, they will look like they're chasing each other. We could also use the rangefinder as well, if we wanted to. So yes, optionally create a Pac-Man. I've actually started printing that one first, and I've bought myself a second 3D printer. It's another Ender Pro. This is the version 2 of the Ender Pro 3. So the one I have to my left here, if I go to that shot there, this one is the original Ender 3 Pro, and that's printing out my Pac-Man as we speak. And the one which is, if I go to that one, just over here, this one is the new one. I'm in the middle of constructing. So okay, so what else is there to say? Yeah, so we want to make it easily 3D printable. So this is one of the reasons why I've sliced this into sort of 4 different chunks. I just wanted to make this a bit more easy to print, otherwise it would take like practically a week to build and probably be solid full of build material. So this is kind of what I'm shooting for here. So yes, game board, amazing. So I'm thinking about having a printable maze layout that you can put on the floor and have the robots follow a line within that path. So I'm thinking that we'll have a black solid line that they can sort of trace along. I've got a couple of line following modules here. Let me see if I can find the one from the original SMARS. I think that is just that. So I've got a SMARS robot here which has the original line follow module on it, which is just hidden inside this little compartment here. So if I just slide this out, you can see there. Let's go full screen for a second. That is the original SMARS module for line following. I've got a slightly different, slightly smaller module which does the exact same thing, and this is the one I've used on the ghost model we're going to look at in a second, just because I had that to hand. Okay, and yes, what we're going for is that kind of scene where we've got the Pac-Man chasing the ghost. They're going to be following a black line along a path and it'll be inside a maze. and we'll look at the code in a different episode. So if you like what I do and you want me to make more of these videos, please make sure you like this video if you're watching live, whether we're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Drop me a comment as well what you think. Which of the ghosts should I print first? The blue, the green, the red. Is there a yellow ghost? I think there's a yellow one as well. And also, if you've not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Again, we're going for the 10k challenge. Wow, that's loud. So I'm trying to get 10,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And I really want people who are interested in robotics like yourself. So if you've not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. Okay, let me go back to my slides. And as you know, there's always a video out every single Sunday, 7 o'clock British Summer Time or GMT when we're back into Greenwich Mean Time. And if you've not already followed me on social media, you can hit one of these below. If you go to the SMARS, either the SMARS fan group on Facebook, or if you go to Facebook groups Small Robots, that's the group that I run. I think we have about 16,500 people in that group now. You get me on Instagram at Kevin McAleer. Let's put that back up there. You can get me on Twitter at KevsMac, and you can also follow me at smarsfan.com as well, which is the website we'll be looking at today. Okay. Just thought I'd call those out because I don't think I've done a social media account out before. So this is some of the printathon that I've been doing recently. This was, as you can see, I'm still doing at the moment. We're printing out the Pac-Man one there. You might be able to see on that one as well. There's this funny sort of chunk that sticks out. And that's actually the thing that attaches the SMARS robot to the chassis there. So on any given SMARS robot, if I take this one here, where the rangefinder sort of fits in place there, if I just move this back a little bit, go full screen, you can see there that there's like a modular thing that fits in place there. So that kind of shape is something that we need to replicate with all our models. There we go. So that's what we'll be doing in Fusion 360 to make sure this thing adheres to our SMARS robot. Okay, just want to remind you as well, next week we have an interview with Simon Monk. So if you have any questions for him, he's a Monk Makes. You might have read some of his books. I know I've got a whole load of his books just on my bookshelf behind me there. Let me know in the comments what questions you want to ask. Just put a Q in there and I'll make sure that we ask those questions. I might need to pre-record that session because I am on holiday next Sunday. So we'll just see how that goes. Anyway, shall we get over to the Fusion 360 demo? Really looking forward to showing you this. So what I will do just before we do that, I'm going to show you how you can follow along with this. So if we go to, let's just turn that off for a second and go to smarsfan.com. So if you go to smarsfan.com and you click on the Bots tab at the top, click on SMARS Robots, and then scroll down, you'll see a Ghost, SMARS Ghost. If you click on that, there is some extremely detailed instructions on how to follow along today and how to create your own ghost robot. So this is what I'll be going through today and showing you everything you need to know. So one of the first things you might want to do is grab a copy of the SMARS robot itself. If you go to GrabCAD, you can download a copy of the SMARS robot. There's a little render of it. I uploaded this yesterday. And at the moment I've just got the Fusion 360 version of that. So if you want a different version of that, like an OBJ file, or I think even STLs can be uploaded there, but there's all different step files and so on. Let me know what you want in the comments on GrabCAD and I shall make sure that I upload them as well. But that just means you can download this and follow along too. Okay, so I've got that open on my, if I just show you there, I've got that open, oops. Nope, not that one there. I've got a little iPad next to me here, and that has got the instructions on that we're going to go through. Okay, so let's go over to Fusion, no, not Home, Fusion 360. Open the wrong app then. Right, so I've got Fusion 360 open there, and the first thing that we need to do is save the file. So let's just go to Save. Let's call this one Ghost. And let me just back up a little bit. I'm going to go, yeah, live stream build along is good. Do I need to use that button there? And I just want to save it in a different folder. So there we go. That'll do fine. Call it Ghost. Okay. And what we're going to do now, I talked about having the the Fusion 360 file for SMARS, that means that we can go into our data panel, which is this, when you press that little 9 squares thing there, that's the data panel, and we can do right click and insert into current design. So I'm going to insert the SMARS robot into our current design, and I'm going to use that to build our ghost around. So as soon as I've done that, wait for it to plop there, we can close the data panel now. Okay, and I'm just going to save it again. Okay. You might see it jump in and out a little bit. I think that's just the software I'm using to do screen capture. It tries to capture everything, and sometimes it zooms in and out a little bit, which is a little bit irritating, but there we go. So we can now see we've got SMARS track test. What I'm going to do in there as well is I'm just going to switch off the rangefinder, because we're not going to be using that in this particular model. And I want to make sure that we don't accidentally include that. So I think there is rangefinder. If I just switch that off, there we go. And we can spin that around and have a little look. There's our SMARS robot. Okay, so the first thing we want to do then is create a new sketch. So let's go to create a new sketch. And we want to create it on the top plane. So let's go to... Now I've noticed this. I was wondering if this would happen. It might happen several times while I'm using Fusion. On a Mac, for some reason, when I just move my mouse around, it's kind of got stuck into this pivot mode, which is really irritating, and I don't think you can do anything to switch it off. So what I found you have to do there is just simply close the file and then just reopen it. So if I just close that and reopen it, everything should be fine. So let's just go back to recent data and ghost. There we go. Might have to do that a few times. It's a bit irritating. I believe it's a known bug in Fusion. I don't know why they haven't prioritized that as a fix, but it's a bit annoying that happens. Okay, so let's just close that out again. So this time we're going to create that new sketch. We're going to create it on the top plane, looking from above, and then I'm just going to click there. Here we go. Okay, so I want it to be centered in the middle of this SMARS robot. So what I'll need to do is just find, is there a central point there? And if there isn't, we can just project in. So if I do P for project and just grab a couple of these lines, we can figure out where the middle is. So let's just do that. I didn't build this around the origin, which is a bit annoying. So Hypotics is asking, am I using the full or limited version of Fusion 360? So I do have the full paid version. So thanks to people supporting the show, I was able to get a full licensed copy of this. And that just means when I go to like the design, I've got all the render options, all the manufacturer and animation and so on, and drawings and whatnot. You can get a pretty much, it's not that limited if you get the hobbyist version. I think you just can't do like cloud-based rendering. So that's all. Right, so I've got some projected in geometry there. Is that going to be enough? Maybe I'll just project in the body. That might be just easier. Just project in that thing there. Okay. And what I want to do is just find the center point. So if I just grab a line down here, grab that across, that'll do. And that little point in the middle there, that's what I'm going for. Let's just create a point there and put it there. That'll do. Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that center point there. I'm going to click in it and draw C for circle. And when I drag out, we can see that we've got a circle now. And the idea is that this is just surrounding all of our robot, so that, like on the one I've built here, there is nothing touching the edges. And what I found is the diameter that's ideal for that. If I just click there and do D for diameter, and just give this a diameter of 145, that's pretty good. We're not making it absolutely massive, but we've got a bit of clearance around the tracks. Yeah, Dale also says you get 10 documents with a limited version. I think there's also a limit on how many sub-assemblies you can have in one model. I didn't know about the sub-assemblies. That must be a new limitation. They did make it so that you had to, 10 active documents, and you had to go into the data panel and say which of the 10 that you're currently using. It's a little bit limited, but it's free, so you know it's as good as it's going to get for free, I think. Okay, so now we've got that locked in there. I'm also just going to, just from the origin point, just do a line up there, and then just whatever dimension it is, That's going to get irritating, that flickering. Let me just see if I can switch that to a different mode. I've currently got it set to zoom to the app window. If I do that, it'll stop doing that flickering in and out, because I think that's going to get really irritating. Right, that's better. Right, so if I now do D again, dimension, just dimension out that line. There we go. That should lock that in place. Finish that sketch. And now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude up that shape. So I'm just going to hit Q to extrude. And we're going to extrude this up as a cylinder by 130. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see that, just to make sure we've got everything included. We want to make sure it's a solid, so I'm going to make sure. So it needs to be 130. Why is it not included? All of the profile. There we go. What we can do is to switch off that for a second and just make sure we've got all the bits of profile selected. So yeah, 130. And then the other thing we want to do, where you've got this taper angle, let me just bring this out so you can see it, taper angle, we're going to set that to -10. So it'll look like a plant pot shape. That's kind of what we're going for. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to fillet that top edge. So this top edge here, if I just select that and use the fillet command, which is this round thing here, we're going to fillet it by 50, and that gives us a nice kind of rounded effect. And then we're going to flip this over now just by grabbing this and moving that up there so we can see underneath. And I'm now going to use the shell command, which is this one here. And what shell does is it kind of makes it, let's just do 1.5, kind of opens it out so that it's empty inside, so now it really does look like a plant pot. So I've done 1.5 millimeters, that seems to be okay. And that means now if I switch that track test back on our SMARS robot, we should be able to see that's now sort of sat within it. So there we go. What I also like to do on here when I'm working, I don't always need to see all of the object visibility, so those joint angles, I'm going to switch them off, and that just gets rid of a bit of the visual noise that's on that particular model there. Okay, we can switch off the track test again now, just for speed. Okay, so that's that. Next we are going to, on the very bottom plane, let's go back to our first sketch again. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to draw a rectangle round that. So let's just draw a big rectangle. So I hit R for rectangle, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tangent command to connect that line to the circle, so that this encompasses the entire circle. Alright, I need to fix that up in a second. And that to there. So I noticed that that circle moved about a bit then, and that's because this line that we've got here needs to be sort of locked into place. So what you can use is this horizontal vertical constraint. So if I click on that and just click on that line, that should lock that into place. Let's just make sure we've got that selected and hit that here. There we go, it's all turned black, that means it's now locked into place. And let's just switch on our track. Yep, that's all good. So the reason I'm doing this this rectangular shape is I want to create some planes that we can use to draw other things. So before we do that, let's just switch on our sketch that we've just created, sketch number 1, and we're going to pull by pressing Q, select those 4 bits, and we're just going to extrude this up. Doesn't really matter how high, to be honest. And it doesn't matter that we've missed out a middle bit, so that's okay. What we really want is these nice flat surfaces. Okay, so let me have a look what's next. So yes, what we want to do is we want to now create an offset plane, and we want to use this side here to create the first offset plane. And this is going to be our right side, is it? No, that's the back, isn't it? Let's see which way around our robot's facing. So what I do is I look to see where the USB connector is on the robot. So let's just switch off those bodies for a second. So this is the right hand side of the robot. So what I'm going to do in the body section is I'm going to name the construction line there, just so that I know what I'm working with. So let's just click on that and call it right. And then on the opposite side of that, I'm going to create another offset plane. So on this side, I'm going to create another one. So construct offset plane. Okay. That's going to be my left plane. And what we're also going to do is the front and the back. So I'm going to click on that one there. That is, if I remember correctly, that is the back. So let's do offset plane. Okay. I'm going to name that one back. Back. And then we're going to, oops. I mean, it doesn't really matter, I've spelled that wrong. And then we're just going to flip that round to the other side. And we're going to create one on here and just call that front. Offset plane and front. Okay. Great. Now what we want to do is create some mid-planes. This is really what I've created those for. So between the right and the left, I want to create a new plane. So what we do is we create a mid-plane by going to Construct and Mid-Plane. And then we select the two planes that we're interested in. So if we just select the left and the right, let's just make sure we've got that correct. You can see now there is a new plane that's just been created just here in the middle. So let's click OK to that. And I'm going to call that one the center plane. I'm going to switch off all those other ones, the left and the right for now. And then I'm going to do the same again between the front and the back. Okay, so let's just go to Construct, another mid plane, and we're just going to select the back and the front. Okay. And that gives us our, does that look right? Looks like that's at an angle. Let me just try that one again, edit. I'll just unselect them. Let's do that again. I think I selected the wrong ones there. So front and back. There we go. That's the mid plane. So we're going to call this one the face plane. So let's just click in there. Call it face mid plane. Mid plane. Mid plane. Okay, we can switch off those other ones now. Right, so we've kind of got like a crosshair now right in the middle of our robot. We can unselect that that body shape now. We don't need that anymore. And let's have a look what's next. Right, so what we want to do now is we want to face our robot. So I think on this one, is it the left hand side is the front. Let's just hide our body for a second and see. Yep, that's the front of the robot. Okay. So Adam's asking, will these fit on top of SMARS? Yes, that's exactly what we're going for. We're going for this kind of design where it will slot into place over our SMARS. So what we've done, if I just flip to the bottom of the robot, you can see there we've got our SMARS underneath, and this entirely surrounds the SMARS robot. Okay, so let's get back to, that's the back, so we want the front, which is, on this particular one, the left view. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to create a new sketch on that face mid-plane. So that's as we're looking at it. So this is going to be the hand of the robot. So let's just sketch out, let's just do it here. So I literally just do L for line, and I also use the slice command. So let me just move this little sketch palette here. You've got this slice command. What that will do is it will just let you work on the actual plane rather than working in the middle of it. You can't really see what you're doing. So if I do slice, it kind of slices the sectional view or what we're after. Right, so I've got my line, and I'm just going to very quickly just sketch out from the side of the robot a kind of hand shape. So let's go for that. Let's go for, I don't know, that. And that. Okay. And what I can also do, if I really want to, I can make these things like parallel with the body if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter because we can intersect it and then throw the bits away that we don't need, so it doesn't matter too much. What I'm also going to do, just looking at my reference model there, I like to use this fillet command just to round out these corners. So I think all my corners are 10. So if I do that one there as 10, I'm going to do the next one. Let's move that up a bit there. Yeah, let's do that. Make that one 10. So select both of them, type in the number. and that's actually going to be underneath a little bit, like so. That's gone a bit funky there, hasn't it? Let's just undo that. Yeah, that's weird. Let me just get rid of that line for a second and that line and redraw them in. Right, I can see what's happening there. It's got an extra line that we didn't need. Okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a massive work of art, this thing. It's literally just the hand shape. And I didn't draw this parametrically. I just kind of drew it freehand and then captured the coordinates of what I drew. So I'm just going to do that and then line that up with there. So I think that fillet between that line there and there is something like 7. If I do D for dimension, I can just click on that, I think. Let's just zoom in a bit more. Do you know, I knew this would happen. Let's just go for space. Let's get rid of that. There's a weird thing going on just there that I don't want. Get rid of that. Delete. 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 Right, let's just try that again. So I really just want that to go there. That'll do. So let's just do another fillet between that and make that 10. That's better. And then between that and there, let's just make that one 7.5. So I've done that. And that'll do for now. Doesn't have to be amazing. Okay, we just need to make sure it's within the body itself like that. Okay, and that it looks proportionally about the right kind of size. Looks a bit big, that. Might bring that in a bit. Let's just move that up a bit. Move that in a bit there as well. That'll do. That'll do. Okay, let's not overthink this. Okay. So what I'm going to do now then, I'm just going to have a look at this in 3D space. So let's just move that around there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to extrude that by pressing Q, clicking on that, and I'm going to drag this out by 10 millimeters. I'm also going to set this to be 2 sides or symmetric, like so. That'll do. And we don't want it to be cut, we want this to be join. So let's do that, join. Okay. We can turn off the other sketch as well, just so we can see what we're doing. We can also turn off those construction lines for now. And let's turn off the tracks as well. There we go. Right. So that's looking a bit blocky. So what we want to do is just give that a bit of a fillet. So again, we can just select that face. Let's just do the fillet command. Select that, do 7 millimeters. And if I also just hold down the option key, I can select the other one as well. And we get kind of a nice rounded arm shape there. Like so. Okay, so we want 2 arms. Oh, before we do that, we actually just want to fillet the armpit as well. So where that's going in, it's looking like a teapot at the moment. We just hit that fillet command again and then just select that edge there. We can do that by 5 millimeters. It just gives it a bit more shape to it. Okay. I also like to work when I'm working, that looks a bit reflective to me. If I hit the A key, I can bring up the appearance panel and I can search in this little library thing for white plastic. So white matte plastic, and just drag that onto there. There we go. I think that just looks a bit more visually appealing. Oops. Where's it gone? There we go. Click close. Okay, so what we want to do now is mirror that hand across. So let's just turn on our construction lines again, and yes, it's that center line, center midplane that we're after. We're going to go to create and mirror, and then instead of it being faces, we're going to select features. And in our timeline down here, we can select the extrusion and both of those fillets, and then the mirror plane, we just move this around a little bit, is that construction midplane that we created. And then okay, and there we go, we've got 2 arms now. We can turn off that construction line to have a look at our ghost so far. Coming along, isn't it? So one of the fun bits is now to draw the face. So let's now turn on our face mid-plane. Turn off that center one. And we're going to create a new sketch on here. Actually, let's not use the mid-plane, let's use the front plane. And let's create it on there. Okay. So let's create... I'm just going to hit this C for circle, and I'm just going to draw out two shapes. And I'm going to draw another one from mouth. Okay. And I'm just going to draw a line between both of these. Like so. Lock them into place. Press space to select. And did I draw an extra line then? I think I did. Right, space to select, and then I'm going to hit the X key. You can actually just press this button over here to make it a construction line, and it just means when you're actually selecting the profile later on, it ignores this, it only looks at solid lines. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make that line horizontal, so click on that horizontal constraint. I want both of them to be the same, so I'm going to select one of them and make it 25 millimeters, and if I click on equals, I can click on that edge and make that exactly the same. And then the distance between both of them is actually 25.5, so if I just make this 25.5, that doesn't quite look right. Why is that? Oh, right, that's because it's not that one. Right, let me just undo that for a second. I'm going to create two vertical lines. Doesn't matter where they are just yet, just as long as they are vertical. So I'm just going to double check by clicking on that. I'm going to make both of them X and X construction lines. Now what I'm going to do with those two is I'm going to make them tangent to that eye. So I'll just click on that eye and that line. Oops. Let's try that again. That is going to be tangent to that line. That's going to be tangent to that line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another circle, and this circle is going to be 15.5. I'm just going to draw it anywhere to begin with. We actually need two of them. This is kind of like the inner eye shape, so let's just draw one of them. D for dimension, 15.5, and we'll make the other one equals the same, so it equals that. If we want both of these to be horizontal, you can just click on that horizontal and click on both the origin points, and they will now be in line with each other. So it doesn't constrain where they are, but they'll always be horizontal to each other. And I'm just going to select that onto that line there, so that it's now within the eye, similar to that one. And then I want to make these so that they are tangent to that other line just there, and that one tangent to that line there. Okay, now what I can do is draw a line between that point and that point. Do D for dimension, and that's the one that needs to be 25.5. Why is it complaining about that? Alright, it's complaining about that because I've got a dimension up there that I just need to remove. Let's just do that again for the smaller one. So I've got two lines here. When I try and click on that, it's going to select the wrong one. So if I click and hold, I can actually select which of the profiles I'm after. So it's actually that top one there. And that's the one that needs to be 25.5. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay. So the other thing I'm going to do, I want to find the exact center line of this ghost body. So if I do P for project, I make sure my selection is on bodies, and I can just hit that ghost body there. I've now got the outline of that body, and I just want to do a line at the very middle, and you can see there when I move this X across, it appears like a triangle. That means that's the midpoint. So I'm just going to draw this down like so. I'm going to select that line and make it X for a construction line. And what I can do now is I can make sure that this line, an easy way to do it is just to do another line from the midpoint of that line to the top there. Make that a construction line, and then click on the horizontal vertical, and then that snaps it into place in the middle. And if you don't like these projections, you can actually turn them off, and you can also turn off the profile as well if you want. If you turn off the bodies, it'll get rid of the ghost altogether, and you can just concentrate on the shape that you're working on. Okay, so we're nearly done now with the face. We'll just have a look if there's anything else we need to do. My instructions have disappeared for a second. Right, so the mouth is 20. So if I just do D for dimension, make this 20. And I'm going to draw a line from, let's have a look. So from this point here, I'm just going to do this over here somewhere for a second. I'm going to make that D for dimension 19. And I'm going to make that a construction line, and I'm also just going to make that so that that's vertical. And then I'm going to draw another line from there to the center of here. And I'm going to give that a dimension of 20. And I'm also just going to make that construction line. And then I want an angle, so I'm do D for dimension between that line and the center line, like so. So we've got an angle, and the angle is just going to be 6 degrees. There we go. That is my ghost face, and that's what I'm sticking with. So I'll also make that line there where my origin point is. I'll just connect those two up. Just make that horizontal line. There we go. Everything's turned black. That means it's locked into place, and we can finish that sketch. Right, so let's turn our sketches back on. Let's turn our ghost body back on. Now at the moment that sketch is kind of floating in space in front of our rope, in front of our ghost body, and we're going to project that through. We're not going to do it just yet, we're going to do that in a second, so that's just going to stay there. Now at the bottom of our ghost we want that kind of wavy skirt effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a similar thing that we've just done here. In fact, we could actually just use that same sketch just to save creating another profile, and then at the bottom down here we can see there, I think that's the center line. Let's just draw that up. Do D for dimension, I'm going to make that 20. I'm going to make it construction line. I am going to hide that body just for a second so that we don't get confused. And I'm also going to just make sure that that is definitely vertical. There we go. Okay, so the way that this shape works, let's just go for line. I'm just going to sketch this out and then constrain everything. So there's kind of a line like that. There's a line that goes down to the base, and then there's a line that kind of goes out. Let's just end that line. And then we need the same on the other side, so it kind of goes down and then kind of goes across a bit. There we go. So let's just hide the other sketch there. Right, so I do need to just do another line from there to there, and another one from there to there. Okay, let's just make that one nice and horizontal. Right, let's constrain some of these things. So the angle between this and this needs to be 120. The angle between that and that needs to be 120, which it already is. That and that also needs to be 120, and you've guessed it, that and that needs to be 120, which it already is. Then we're going to just add some nice fillets to these corners, and the fillet is going to be 5. That is going to be filleted as well, so oops, sorry, I just did the wrong one there. Let's escape out of that. Let's do that and that. That's going to be 5. We are then going to do this to the bottom one. That's going to be 5. And then that last one over there is also going to be 5. Okay. So this last little piece here, that needs to be, oops, that there, D for dimension needs to be 2.5. That needs to be 2.5. And then this line here needs to be 2.5. And we want that to be where the sort of top of that lollipop is there. We want it to be dead center. So we use that midpoint. We can click on that line and select that point, and that's now the midpoint. Now at the moment this one is not the right length, so We can just make those two collinear. Let's try that. So if I do that point, it needs to be collinear with that point. If that doesn't work, we can just use the horizontal vertical constraint for that point. That point. There we go. That's turned black. That means everything's good. And I'm just going to draw a line between that point and that point there, just so that it's got a nice profile to it. So if we select show profile, we can see now that that's got a profile to it. Great. Okay, we're going to extrude that skirt into the body now. So let's just select our body. We're going to select that profile. I'm going to press Q for push pull, and we're just going to do 30. It's going to be minus 30. So extrude into the body, and it's going to cut it out like so. And that's great. That looks really nice. Now the thing is, we want that to be a circular pattern all the way round. So to do a circular pattern, we first need to have an axis of which to rotate around. So if I just go here, I can go to construct. I can do axis through a cylinder or torus. If I just select this bottom section here, we've now got this nice axis all the way through, which is what we need. And we can now do that circular pattern. So if we go to create and pattern and circular, we can select features. We can select that feature that we just cut out there. We can select the axis we're after, which is that new axis, and we can select 10. So if we just increase that 9, 10, click OK, it's now going to cut out that little skirt shape for us. There we go. Okay. So now we're not going to do the eyes just yet. There's a reason for that. We are now going to load back our SMARS robot. Excuse me. We're going to create a new plane, a new sketch based on part of this. So let's just hide our ghost body for a second. Let's zoom in to the very front of our SMARS robot, and this area just here, this is where our rangefinder normally sits into place, and we want to use that to create a new kind of section that will enable us to connect our SMARS robot to the body. So we just need to make that shape. So what we will do, we can now just do a create sketch using that plane. If we do slice, it will slice into the SMARS robot. You get this very funky looking crosshatch pattern. And then if we do P for project, we can actually project in. We actually this time want specified entities because we want the front and the inside edge. And what we also want to find is that edge there and that edge just there. Okay, that'll do. We can now actually turn off that track, and we can see that we've got a couple of edges. Okay, so let me just turn that on for a second. Sometimes I find it is a little bit easier, rather than just working completely in 3D, just in 2D, it's just to go to 3D and just make sure we've got the right things we need, because that doesn't look right to me. It's that inner edge bit there we need. Do P for project and then just select that. And equally, we want that point just there. Perfect. Okay, we can now go back to the top view. We can now turn off our SMARS. And hopefully that's enough information for us to create what we need to create. Right, so we need a rectangle. I'm going to type to that point there and then down to here. Let's just have that aligned to there. And the width of it, if I use that collinear, I can make that line collinear to that line there. It should be about 3 millimeters. So if we click on that line there, it says 2 millimeters down there, that's fine. And what we need to do next is just draw two other rectangles either side of that. We can just do it outside and then we can then constrain them. So let's just make both of these edges collinear. And both of the bottom ones collinear, like so. And then we need that edge to be collinear to that one, and that edge to be collinear to that one. And then the width of these needs to be 4. Is it 4 or is it 3? Let's try 3. Oops, not 3 meters. Let's undo that. Let me just double check on the instructions. I think it's 3. Oh no, it is 4. It is 4. That's right. And then let's just make that one equal to it. That is equal to that. And then the height between this and here needs to be 3. So D for dimension between that point and that point. And that needs to be 3 millimeters. It wasn't far off, was it? And then equally down here, we just need that to overshoot between that point and that point. And that point. Let's just zoom in on that a little bit more. I'm just going to switch our SMARS back on for a second to make sure. Yeah, that's fine, so it doesn't really matter which of those we use. We'll just use the bottom one, so between that point and that point. That needs to be 4. Let's turn off our SMARS again. D for dimension between that point. That needs to be 4 millimeters. I've done 3 up there, let's be consistent. 3. 34, 3. Okay, that is good. And then what we also do, rather than just being a solid piece just in here, I like to make this another couple of rectangles. So rectangle just there, that is going to be about 4 again, I think. Yep. So that between there and there is 4 millimeters. Okay. And if we measure that, that should be 48.5. 48.5, perfect. Great stuff. Okay, that's the sketch. So let's just finish that. We'll come back to that one in a minute, but that's what we need to connect. If I put our tracks back on, you can see what's going to happen there. We're going to create a little connector that goes between that and the ghost's body, which is there. Okay. Right, let's go back to our ghost and let's go back to the face. I'm just going to turn off that sketch and put the other one back on, which is our face. I'm just going to save this just in case anything happens. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do similar to what we did before where we extruded into the body. We're going to do that again. So let's select. Now the reason that these eyes are different sizes is just to give it a bit of character. So let's just rotate this round a little bit. And I'm going to do Q for push-pull. So I'm going to select the small eye on that one and then the larger eye on there. And also that mouth. And I'm going to extrude it back by 30. Now instead of cutting it, I'm just going to create a new body. So new body and click OK. Like so. So let's just turn off those sketches a second so we can see what's going on. I'm also just going to throw in there an appearance. So where we had white plastic, let's just have some black matte plastic. Black matte plastic, and let's just throw that onto here and onto there and close that out. And I'm just going to quickly name these bodies. So that main body, which is the first one, let's just call that ghost body. The second one we don't really need anymore. The third one is the left eye. That is the mouth. This makes this easy to navigate in a minute. And then the other one is the right eye. Cool. Okay, we're going to leave them there for a second, and then we're going to go back to our other sketch, which is the connector one. We're going to hide the ghost body, and then we're going to extrude this up. So Q for push-pull. Let's select all the bits that we need. Let's get a better view of that. Okay, and we're going to extrude that up by 12. Do we need to have anything else selected? Let's turn off that, there we go. And then we're going to click on that face there, and we're going to do Q to push pull of that face. It's an offset face, it's not quite the same as extruding out, but it's offsetting. We're going to offset that by 12, like so. Okay, so now if we just look at our ghost body for a second, if you ever want to work within these and you want to make them transparent, you can actually right click and go to opacity controls and sort of make them say 50% transparent, so you can actually see what you're doing within them. That's quite useful if you want to have everything at once. Right, the other thing we're going to do, we're going to go back, let's just switch our ghost body off for a second. We're going to click on that face there. We're going to do another extrude, so press Q again, sorry, E for extrude. And we're going to use some of these different options on here. So this time we're going to say we want to, the distance we want to be to object. And the object that we want is actually the inside of the ghost body. So if I just look underneath there, we actually want it to extrude to the inside face of that ghost body, like so. And we've got the right option selected there, which is to selected face. And we want it to be a new body at the moment. Okay, great. So that's now perfectly touching that ghost. However, we've got this, oh, has it done that thing again? I'm going to have to just open and close it. I can just try and rotate it around to show you. At the moment, we've got this kind of, where the skirt is, it's kind of facing it, and that's not great. So what we will do is we will just edit that out by creating a new profile. But before I do that, I'm just going to save the file, and then I'm just going to open and close it. Get rid of that weird pivot bug. Let's just go back into the data panel and open it back up again. Okay. So there we go. So how are you finding this? Is it okay? We're going not too fast, not too slow. You can see we've nearly got our ghost created. We just need to do a few more operations on the eyes and this piece just here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on that face there. In fact, we could do this on the front face plane. So let's go to our construction lines, our front face, which is that one there. Let's just create a new sketch. Carlos says very good. Good, good. We're going to click on there, and we're going to project in that outline shape there, so we can just click the bits that we need. It's really just that line there, isn't it? That shape. And yeah, there we go. Okay, so if we just hide the body for a second. Yeah, we've not quite got that line projected in. Okay. We can turn off the ghost body again. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's what we're after. So this profile here is what we need. So I think we just need to reconstruct that by doing L for line and just sort of trace over the projected lines. Let's just create one between there and there. And we don't need to do those bits up there, but we do need to do just between there and there. And then the other cool thing is if you've already traced a line, so there's an arc that we need to create. Let's just do a 3-point arc, and we can just do the first point, the second point, and then if you just click on the line, it knows to trace that. So there we go. Okay, so we finished that sketch now. We can now select that profile, which is what we want. And what we can now do is just cut that out of our connector. So if we go back to our bodies, these are the bodies that we've got here. We can actually join those two together actually, so let's just switch those two bodies on. So let's turn off everything else we don't need. So to combine things together, use this combine command. So you literally just click one on the other, and that's it. So we've now got a new body, which we're just going to call connector. Okay, and what we want to do now is just cut out that shape there out of this. So we just do Q for push pull. we're going to push this back, and in fact, let us, the reason I hadn't joined that previously, I'm just going to undo that command. I'm just going to jump back here for a second while there's still two bodies, and I'm going to just do that Q for push pull, and where we've got distance we can do to object, and we can just say do it to that, do it to there. And let's just make sure that's enabled like so. Okay, and now we can do that combine command. I actually just moved the timeline, so these two we can now just make sure we join everything together. So we want to join that to that and that. Okay, and let's just call that connector again. Okay, what else do we need to do now? So, okay, just looking at my instructions, we need to do the eyes, I think, next. We can actually now connect this to the body, so let's just do our ghost body. We can now do combine, select the ghost body, select our connector, and click OK. So they're now one solid piece, like so. And that means if we just switch our SMARS back on for a second, you can now see when it finally arrives that that's now able to sort of push into the top of our SMARS robot, like so. Okay, let's just switch that off. Let's just save that. Okay. Oh, it's got that bug again, so let's just close and open it one more time. There we go. And I'll just find the last command. So what we need to do next is the eye piece and then just slice it. Very nearly done. Okay. I'm also just going to change the opacity back to 100% just on there, so it's nice and solid again. And we need to switch on all the other bits. We don't need that body, but we do want our... Why is he blue? Oh, there we go. He was blue because he was selected. Right, so what I want to do two operations with the eyes and the mouth. First of all, I want to cut holes into the body, but before I do that, I actually want to extrude, basically have the body intersect with the eyes and keep that intersection, and then cut the intersections into the ghost body and then keep hold of them. And that will mean that they have that nice round shape of the body, but are the right shape for us. So let's do this one at a time. We're going to use the combine tool. We're going to select the target body is going to be the ghost, the tool is going to be the eye, and then instead of join we're going to use intersect, and that will create a new object which is the intersection of both. We do want to keep the tools because we don't want to lose our ghost body, and we do want to, do we need a new connection? No, we don't. Let's just do that. Right, so we've now got two pieces, I think. So let's just move our right eye out of the way. You can now see we've got this. Oh no, it has done that incorrectly. Let me just backtrack a second. It's the right operation, but I removed the ghost body, which was wrong. Let's just do that again. So combine. So this time I'm going to use the target body is the eye, the tool is the ghost body, and we're going to keep the tool. That's correct. There we go. So I've now got this right eye. If I switch it off, we still have the ghost body there, and that's why you've got this weird sort of lines, because they both exist in the same plane. We need to do the same now with the other eyes and the mouth, so let's just do that. Combine the eye, the body is the tool, keep the tool. Do that with the mouth, combine, target body is the mouth, the tool is the body, keep the tool, okay. And then finally we want to do a combine again. We want to, this time we want to cut. So the target body is the ghost body, the tool is the eye, and we want to keep the tool. So now what we've got is, if we look at the left eye, we have a hole where the eye is, or a solid hole. sorry, solid hull, the eyepiece itself. So let's just do that with the other eye and the mouth. So the target body is the ghost body. We have the eye as the tool. We want to keep the tool and cut it. And then finally, let's do that with the mouth as well. So the body is the ghost body, the tool is the mouth. We want to keep the tool. Okay. So now what we've got is a nice rounded, perfectly fitting piece, and we can 3D print these eyes and then push them into place and sort of glue them if we want to. So on one version of this, I actually had a rangefinder in front of both of the eyes so that we could have that, so we could literally see what was in front of it and, you know, act accordingly. So is that it? I think we're not far off if that isn't it. I think that might be the completed artifact. Let me see if there's anything else we need to do. I think that, slicing it up. Okay, so we needed to do that before we do the slicing operation. So let's just turn on our very first sketch, which was that bottom plane, and we're going to use that that plane there to create some offset planes. So let's just do that by creating construct offset plane. We're going to move this one up just underneath. We go look at it straight on. So I think this one needs to be about 40, basically just underneath where that mouth is. That'll do. The next one, we want another offset plane using that plane we just created. So construct offset plane. This one will have as about basically just under the eye. So let's do 35. Let's create another one. Use that one as the base for it. And we'll just do it above. So let's do that to 40. And that's great. So we've now got a number of planes. In fact, let's just create another plane just on there, like so. And we can now use those planes to slice the ghost body. And that means we can easily 3D print these into pieces that make sense to us. So if we now use the slice tool, slice body, we select the body, which is the ghost. The slicing tool is going to be that plane. So it's need to do slicing tool. So it's going to be that, and that. Doesn't need to be that one, sorry. There we go. So what's going to happen is it's going to use those planes to slice the body into 4 different sections. So we'll now see that we have a couple of extra sections. Let's just see where they've gone. Did that actually do it? I don't think that did it then, did it? Let's just try that again. So ghost body, slicing tool is going to be that, and that. Click OK. So it's saying there's an error. What's the error there? Compute failed. No intersection between target and splitting tool. That's weird. Let me try that one more time. So the slice tool, the body. Let's just do one at a time then to see if that works. So select that plane there. Okay. Yep. So we've now got the sort of scalp. So let's call that a scalp. Why does that not look right? We're then going to do the same again. So we're going to slice the ghost body and then use that plane there. Okay. We'll call that new piece. Oh, I didn't notice it cut his arm there. Let's just change the height of that one. So let's just edit that feature. Just move it up a tad. Let's just move it up a little bit. Okay, let's just do that slice again. So the body, then that plane there. Okay. We'll call this piece here eyes. Then we will do that again. Slice body, ghost body. Select the slicing tool as that. Okay. We'll call this piece arms. And then that's it. We've got the pieces we need. So if we've got a piece here which is that weird block thing. If you right click that, you don't delete it, you remove it. If if you delete it, it actually corrupts any operations that would use that further on. You can see there's this little remove command, but it means it's removed it from our list of things. Okay, we can hide now all the sketches and the construction lines, and what we can now do is we can start to save these out as a mesh. So up here it now defaults to this 3MF, but we can save it as an STL. So the options there is it's a binary STL, it's in millimeters, refinement is high, click OK. It's going to ask me where I want to save this, so let's call this ghost body, and this is the ghost body, let's call it skirt. Then let's click on the next piece, which is the arms, right click, save as mesh. It's remembered that it's an STL, let's click OK, let's call that arms. Let's do the same now with the eyepiece, save as mesh, OK, eyes, and then scalp, save as mesh, OK, scalp. And we can also do the other with the mouth as well, so save as mesh, OK, and it even remembers, look, it's got the name of the body, so that's really handy. And we just need to do the left and right eye, so save as mesh, OK. Job is a good one. We've designed a ghost. Now the really cool thing about this ghost, now that we've got these different bodies, we can just save that. We can now switch these bits off that we don't need to see. Let's get rid of the arms. And let's turn on our track test, which is our SMARS robot. And we can now rotate this round, so you can now see how that connects together. So I'll just zoom in there. You can now see that pretty much what I have here is in place. Now all I've done on my version, and this is the Pac-Man version, I've created a hole there for the line sensor module. And I've also just used a rib command to create these little ribs just to give that a bit of extra strength. But that pushes into the SMARS. The SMARS is a little bit wonky. You can see the wheels need adjustment there. They're sort of bending out a little bit. But this was just like a test one I have. But yeah, it fits in place. It holds it. We have a base there to go from. Cool, cool, cool. So we can now take those STL files, put them into something like Cura, and then start printing. And that's what I'm doing with these pieces I've got here. And on this Pac-Man one, once I've actually removed the filament and I've glued these bits in place, we'll have a nice round, and I've removed all the filler stuff. I'm going to glue them in place. I could have created like a little extruded bit that means it sort of clicks into place, but I haven't done that. I assumed I'll be gluing this in place. And for my ghost, I've got this nice glow-in-the-dark filament. So this is green. It looks white when you print it out, but when you shine a light on it, I get my torch on my phone, and I just blast that bit of light for a second. Don't know if we can see. Don't think it's strong enough, that. Let's try a bit more. You can't really see that. I've got a great big light in front of me. So I'd have to turn the lights off for us to see that, but yeah, it does glow in the dark. Otherwise I've just wasted a lot of money. So I've got a red version of that and a blue version. Right, let's have a look at some of the comments that people have. Let's see what's going on. People have been very chatty while I've been designing that. Thank you for being so patient and watching along with me. I hope that was entertaining for you and useful. So, wow. Let's have a look what we have here. So there's a bit of talk about the Fusion 360 and what you can and cannot do on the limited version. So I was a big user of the limited version, and eventually I decided to push the button and buy. It's about 400 something pounds, I think, to get the full version. And with the full version you can create unlimited documents. You can do generative design, and you also get these credits for rendering on the cloud. So if you want to render it rather than it rendering on your machine, you can just pay a credit, and you get so many credits as part of the subscription. You can buy more. So Tom is asking, did you design the boards, the Arduino Uno, for yourself, or did you download them somewhere? So I grabbed that from GrabCAD. Now sometimes if I don't have something, I will get out my digital calipers and I'll just measure them. So this particular infrared line following module, which has on it, it says it's a HW-201. I couldn't find that anywhere, so I painstakingly created that using Fusion 360, and then I uploaded that to GrabCAD. So if I go back over for a second to Fusion, if I wanted, for example, to save out this ghost thing, I can right-click, export. I think it's the whole thing you actually export. There we go, export. And there's an option there to export it to, let's go back in there, you export it to GrabCAD. I can't find where that's gone now. Sure it was export. There was actually it's under file, that's where it is. File, share. Not export, share to GrabCAD, and that's what I did with that other part. In fact, it's probably under my saved items. So if I go and find, there you go, HW-201. So there you go, painstakingly drew that out, maybe a bit obsessively, but that meant that I could then put that in my model and make sure that everything fits. And as you can see, it does fit. So nothing quite like having digital calipers. So yes, if I've not got the part, I will go to GrabCAD. That usually is a good source of CAD stuff. And Dale says, even with limitations, it's still worth using Fusion 360. I love the fact it does parametric modelling, so you can put all the measurements in. You can constrain things and build your model. It's just a really good way of working. So Tom says, have you thought about printing your ghost in vase mode? Definitely saves a lot of time. I did think about that earlier actually, because these things are they're just a single skin wall. I'll try that out. Now I've got 2 printers, I'll be able to try that out and see if that works or not. And Novi says, interesting. Good. So Adam was saying, will these fit on top of SMARS? I think we've answered that question. Yes, that's the idea there. And 2 demerits for lateness. That's to Adam there. So yes, hope you've all pressed the like button on the video to let me know if you like this or not. If you don't, you can always put a thumbs down as well. I do accept those. So Dale says, I did a full 4-deck octagonal robot in Fusion 360 years ago. Wow. And it looks like Darth Vader's helmet from the back. It does, when we're building that out, and it looks like a kind of plant pot. It certainly looks. That's one of the things I think when you're making Fusion, you've got to think, what is this shape? If I'm going to model something, so if I've got, I don't know, this, not sponsored by Pepsi, I should be. What is this shape? So it's definitely a cylinder, so I could start with a cylinder. I could create a profile for that edge kind of shape there and taper that, or maybe I could start off with a cylinder and then just do a tapered cylinder. And so on. So you just start thinking about what the different operations are that would give you this. So that little piece in the middle there, I might create an offset plane at an angle and then just draw it and then extrude it. And don't worry too much about rounded angles. It's very easy to fillet things later on and so on. And then to make the insides, we could do a shell. Sometimes you might have to create 2 parts independently and then join them together, or use like a joint to join them together. So Adam says, now it looks like Piglet from Pokemon, Diglett even. What else have we got? Hypotic says, I want to be like Kevin McAleer when I grow up. Me too. Good. Leave a flat circle and stick googly eyes on it. Absolutely, you can always stick googly eyes on anything. I watched a YouTube video the other day that said we're going to keep sticking googly eyes on things until we get caught. And they literally go to like a supermarket sticking googly eyes on literally everything. So, yes. What else? A ghost with glasses. It does look like that when you're drawing it out, doesn't it? It looks like it's got glasses on it. Cool. Carlos says very good. Ramazan says hello. How are you doing? I hope you're having a good day. Coda1448 says hello. Hello to you. Codaman says hello. Hello to all you good people. Hope you've all subscribed to the channel as well. I need every single sub I can get to spread the channel further and wider. Could you evolve this design, your own proton pack, and use an infrared to zap the ghost? You could literally do anything with this. So I was thinking, like, what else could we do with this? So many things. I was inspired a little bit by Otto, because they have so many different things they can put on there to make their robot kind of refreshed. So that's my take on it, is we can put different bodies onto SMARS, because he's quite open topped. That's one of the things about Otto. It's got like a nice enclosure to it, so everything's enclosed. SMARS does tend to be sort of open top. Putting this on does enclose it. So Adam's asking, have you got the hardened tip and the luminous filaments destroy brass? Do they? I did not know that. I have got a few bits and pieces and a few extra nibs. I shall look at that. Thank you for the heads up. Eunice ID says, thank you, sir. Thank you to you. Thank you for watching. How does it destroy brass? It can just be down to the corrosiveness of it, can't it? I mean, what's brass? A mixture of iron and copper, is it? I'm not very good at that. Camilla says, GrabCAD is his best. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I was very impressed, by the way, Camilla, with your chat with Alex from Hackster.io. I was very impressed with that. Very good interview that you had with her there. So I'm going to log into GrabCAD now. How do I find your stuff? So you can just search my name. If you go to smarsfun.com, I jump back to here for a second. So if you go to smarsfun.com and you go over to bots and then SMARS robots, you can scroll down to the ghost robot, and then the very first link after all those table of contents is GrabCAD. So if you click on there, you'll find the SMARS robot that I uploaded, and there's me. For some reason I'm Kevin.McAleer-2. Clearly there's another account. It's probably my other account. And there's two things that I've thrown up there. I did used to put things on Thingiverse, but they haven't been indexing things very well for quite a while. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I wouldn't use that to store any of the STL files anymore. I find that not great. Sam says the luminous particles are very corrosive to brass. It wears the brass away, just like wood fill and other additive infused filaments. Interesting. Did not know that. And Tom says, thanks for the GrabCAD tip. This is awesome. Just rush through some components. Absolutely. So yeah, if you're building something you think, I really need like an Arduino or a motor shield, they're pretty much already on there. People have already put these out there. So definitely fill your boots with all those different models. And then use the joint command in Fusion to sort of lock things in place. That's what I do as well. So the robot model I did will be 12-inch diameter and 12 inch tall. Wow. I mean, this one I'm printing now is pretty huge. Is it that view there? You can see it's pretty much taken up the entire build plate. This, to date, was one of the biggest single things I printed out. This is about a day print, so it's pretty big. And that's the old Ender Pro 3 that I'm using there. Ender 3 Pro. Yeah, it just says it's very, very nasty stuff if it's corrosive. Lots of fun today, absolutely. Abrasive, not corrosive. Yeah, same difference, isn't it? If it abrases it, it does eat away at it. Still nasty to your printer. Glad to know you was inspired by Otto. I'm inspired by Otto every time I look at this thing. It's a cute little robot. Do need to fix that up. SMARS always needs a face, doesn't it? Just it needs like a, and that's what I liked about your designs that you do in the competitions with Otto. You really sort of go to the community and say, I want to see what you can do with Halloween or Christmas or Easter or whatever the time of year is, and that just makes people's creativity flow, doesn't it? So when I get my Ender V2 working again and calibrated, the first thing I'll print is a SMARS. Awesome. I'm thinking about printing out a few more SMARS as well, maybe a few different colours. I've got a whole wall full of SMARS at the moment, but you can never have too many. I don't know if you've seen this wall full of SMARS. If I just grab this camera and I go to that camera there, you can see I've got a wall full of SMARS. So there's the oops, that is the forklift one. Then we have the one with the ESP32 camera on the front, and then we've got various other versions of that. It's a sort of wall of SMARS. I've got the truck bit there, and there's a few spare faces and whatnot knocking about, and then we've got that one down there and the one that's in there, and also the big version too, which has got the Jetson Nano in it. And then just around the corner, just sat quietly there, is SMARS Mini. So there's a few you might not have seen already. Let's put that camera back up there, pointing down at that thing. Carlos says, thank you Kevin, thank you Carlos for watching and joining me with this today. So I'm going to try down the scaled robot to fit on my printer. Yes, absolutely. Or think about how you could jigsaw it back together, maybe not just glue. Super glue works perfect on PLA, I found. You can, other people use 3D pen to sort of weld together other pieces. I've seen that certainly happen. And Hypotic says, do you think SMARS could be scaled down even more? You know, I think you could. So with this SMARS Mini, this has currently got 2 motors in it. It's got 1 motor that way and one motor there. I think you could probably get away with a smaller motor. And in fact, I have a box full of motors somewhere. Where is it? Is it this one? Yes. So this little bag I've got here has got some ridiculously small motors in there. I don't know if you can see how small they are. They're actually stepper motors. You could build some out of that and make a really, really, really small robot. The thing that becomes difficult is just packing everything else in, because you've got wires to connect things up. You need a power source, and you need a brain of the robot. So all those things require extra. So one of the things I've been looking at for this, which is the SMARS Mini, is like a Bluetooth module. So I've got a really small Bluetooth module. I think that's what it is. Unless this is the Seed Studio one. No, this isn't actually the Bluetooth module, but I've got one that's about that size that will just fit nicely on the back, along with everything else that needs to fit in there. In fact, that's the Bluetooth module there. It's a really small, you can see it in there, just a little Bluetooth module. Again, it requires a bit of skill with the old soldering iron. So the stamp I promised to get you is still sat on my desk. I had to redesign all of the PCBs and parts. Don't worry about it. That'd be really cool. Yep, got to give it a go. Think small and then think smaller. How else can you make this robot even smaller? Use a wireless coil and capacitor to power very small SMARS. Pico SMARS, what would we call that? Micro SMARS. What's smaller than a pico? I don't even know what that'd be. What would be smaller than a pico? Nano, is that smaller than a pico? I don't know. Cool, so while we're all still here, just before we go, I want to remind you, if you head over to, we've already done the video bit, but yes, we have a new video every single Sunday, 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. That's the button I really meant to press. If you head over to smarsfan.com, you can find the learning platform, you can find that ghost robot that we've just created, and you can also just check out some of the other robots on there. We've got the Weatherbot, we've got all the other builds. I did launch that new Arduino course last week as well about how to move your SMARS around with Arduino code. And if you want to help out the show, please make sure you go to buymeacoffee.com/Kevin McAleer, and you can really help me out by buying me a coffee. That can help pay for some of the kit, some of the graphic software, the streaming software, the equipment I use, the royalty-free music, the website hosting, the works. It takes quite a lot to put this in. I put every ounce of effort I can in a week, as Jenny will probably tell you. I put a lot of effort into these shows, so if you can help me out with that, I would really, really appreciate it too. And again, if you've not subscribed, it's the 10,000 challenge. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you've not subscribed, hit subscribe now. I think 76% of people haven't subscribed, so if you're one of them, hit that subscribe button now and help me out. Great stuff. Well, thank you for spending your time with me today. I really appreciated that. Tico, Pico, or Tiny S2, I like that. Pico is smaller than Nano. Teeny weeny SMARS. Richard, I like where you're going with that. I think teeny weeny SMARS is definitely the way to go. It's so small, I need glasses, SMARS. SMARS. Exactly. Teeny weeny one. So, yes, thank you very much for spending your time with me today. Hope you found this interesting, doing a deep dive into Fusion 360. A bit of a long show today, an hour and a half, but hopefully you've enjoyed that. And that you can start printing your robot out for Halloween. And we can build some more Pac-Man and Ghost robots. I'm intending to have about 4 Ghost robots and a Pac-Man and a huge maze on the floor. So once I've done that, I'll share the code with you and we can play with that. So thank you everybody. Thank you Janez. Thank you Tom. Thank you Dale, Adam, Richard, everybody that's with me today. And I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.